The story I'm going to tell you today might be one that rings familiar because there are hundreds of variants of this very old story, The Brahmin, the Tiger, and the Jackal. It is a story of a broken promise, a tiger freed from captivity, and a very helpful trickster. Our story begins with a Brahmin, a holy man, who's walking through the jungle, and he hears a sound far off in the distance, and he follows the sound where he finds a tiger violently trying to free himself from his cage. He is trapped in a solid iron cage, and he's flinging himself from side to side until he sees the holy man, and he stops himself and he says, "Oh, please, please, release me from my cage." And the Brahmin says, "If I release you, how do I know that you won't eat me?" And he said, "Eat you?" He was absolutely dumbfounded at the question. "Why would I eat you?" he insisted. "The man who saved me?" And the Brahmin said, "So you promise you won't eat me if I release you from this cage?" And the Brahmin said, "Of course, I swear upon my mother's grave." And so the Brahmin, who believed deeply in the goodness of all creatures, that all creatures had goodness within them, agreed to release the tiger. And so he found the mechanism in the lock and undid the cage. And so the tiger started walking out, and he yawned, and his large, white, gleaming, sharp teeth were very close to the face of the Brahmin. And the tiger said, "You know what? I'm quite hungry." And the Brahmin said, "Oh yeah?" And the tiger said, "I think I will eat you." And the Brahmin took a step back, and he said, "But you promised you would not eat the person who freed you from your cage." And he said, "I was in a cage. Promises made from a cage are not meant to be kept." And so the Brahmin thought for a moment, and he said, "Let's put it to the test. Let's ask 3 others if what you are proposing is fair. And if all 3 of them agree, I will accept my fate." So the tiger nodded his assent, and they began to walk. And they first came upon a very long and dusty road. And the Brahmin asked the road, "Is it fair for the captor to eat the freer of the captor? Should this tiger be allowed to eat me who freed him from his captivity?" And the road scoffed, and he said, "Millions upon millions of people walk on my road. They complain when they're muddy. They complain when it's raining, and yet I get them from where they started to where they need to go. And yet, do they ever thank me? They never thank me. They are full of ingratitude." I say a world full of ingratitude means he can eat whomever he pleases. The Brahmin was taken aback, and the tiger just smiled. Then they came across a very old banyan tree. And this old banyan tree had large limbs and huge, deep roots that wove like the streams of rivers. And they proposed the question to the banyan tree. And the banyan tree thought for a moment and said, "Man takes my fruit. They cut my limbs. They carve their names into my bark. I give, and I give. And they take, and they take, and they take. And do they ever thank me for my gifts, for my multitude of gifts? No. This world is one of ingratitude. The tiger should be able to take whatever he'd like." The Brahmin felt very discouraged. But they had one last person, one last other to ask. They came across a golden jackal. A jackal is a little bit like a coyote. And they told the story from start to finish to the jackal. And the jackal scratched behind his ear and he said, "Now, can you explain that story to me again? I'm not very smart." And so the tiger started from the start to the end and asked the question, "Can I eat the Brahmin? Is it fair?" And the jackal said, "I think I need to see where this happened. Can you take me back to the cage?" And so the tiger, who really enjoyed dramatic stories, agreed. He was impatient to eat the Brahmin, but he also really was reveling in the dramatic retelling of this story. And so the jackal said, "Okay, so this is the cage. Now, where were you, tiger?" And the tiger showed him that he was inside the cage. And the jackal took a moment, just a side glance at the Brahmin, and the Brahmin understood. Quick as lightning, the Brahmin rushed forward and shut the gate behind the tiger, who was now inside the cage. And the tiger roared. He was so angry, his giant white gleaming teeth shining in the sunlight. And he said, "How dare you? You tricked me." And the Brahmin said, "You tricked me first. I showed you kindness. I showed you mercy. And what did you show me? Nothing but contempt." And let's see. Okay. Okay. The jackal said, "You tricked the Brahmin first. We are merely returning things to the order in which they belong." And the Brahmin said, "The virtuous help those in distress, out of mercy, not from a desire for thanks. Ingratitude harms the ungrateful. Gratitude brings its own glory." And then, as the tiger roared some more, banging his body bloodied and broken against the cage arms, the cage bars, the Brahmin walked through the jungle back towards his house. And that is the end of that story. Now, this is a story that has hundreds of variations. So you might have heard the story with different animals. Sometimes there's wolves, sometimes there's buffaloes, sometimes there's an entire judge and jury. So this is a story that has been told throughout the ages, and it's thought even to possibly be older than the fisherman and the jinn story, which is the story that we were diving into in our fairy tale flip episode in June. And so if you haven't gotten a chance to listen to that one, make sure that you're able to listen to that episode so you can compare and contrast how this story is a parallel to the story, and and how it might have influenced the fisherman and the jinn story. Thanks so much for listening. I'm Vanessa Y. Rogers, hostess of Fabric of Folklore. Make sure you hit subscribe and like and share this with whomever you think should hear the story. And until next time, keep the fairy tales alive.